Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm your host, Brian Scott. I'm always excited to read some Robert B. Stone, and we have one of his wonderful books, How to Gain Strength from Nature Sitting in Your Living Room, Tapping Natural Sources of Energy Wherever You Are. You should be able to find the link in my description. It's got 12 wonderful chapters, and it's addressing something that I think is uniquely important. I've started to include some nature scenes in some of my meditations, you might have noticed, but there's some sort of unique power that comes from nature that goes beyond anything that we may realize. Dawson Church, in his books, sort of describes nature as the closest to the quantum field. I have found unique empowerment just going on walks in nature on a regular basis. And in many ways, these walks or experiences in nature are more powerful than meditation. And I've started to go to nature within my meditations, and it brings me closer to source. Robert B. Stone recognized this in his book, How to Gain Strength from Nature Sitting in Your Living Room, talking about what it means, how to use this, and how you can use it to empower yourself to overcome loneliness. It can provide a variety of gifts, help you to overcome fear and self-doubt, and bring a sort of paradise on earth. I believe part of the process and transition to the new earth that I've discussed now on several episodes is a connection to nature. We are joining with the sun and the earth, and they are collectively taking care of us, those of us that are beginning the creation process of the new earth. And that it requires us to tune into nature, to tune into its rhythms, its harmonies, even visually. And as we do, we begin to see the pattern of creation the earth has set forth for us through this unique, wonderful thing we call nature. This is not a Thoreau or Rachel Carson approach to nature, Stone says. In fact, it is an approach that has only been made possible in the past decade. It gives the reader ways to take 1 or 2 minutes to acquire the invigoration and therapeutic effects that only closeness to nature can provide, and to do so in the comfort of an urban living room. What makes this possible now are several scientific advances. These include a fuller understanding of the relaxation response, of the morphogenetic field put forth by Dr. Rupert Sheldrake, echoing Carl Jung's collective unconscious, and of the special attributes of the right hemisphere of the human brain. By mentally picturing common natural scenes, many of the benefits of actually being there can be acquired. Of course, if you can be there, put this book down and go. But even so, you can walk a beautiful mountain trail, and by bringing workaday matters with you, insulate yourself from its natural benefits. The mind controls the body. By turning the mind to nature's scenes, you are attuning your mind, and therefore your body, to creation, and therefore to life itself. Try a moment of relaxed memory of some favorite natural spot. Then a moment of imagining yourself crossing your busiest thoroughfare in the midst of traffic. When you mentally picture your body believes you, when you mentally picture life expressing to its fullest, your life is able to express more fully. The pages ahead can lead to a paradise on earth. Don't take my word for it. Do it and see for yourself. I found this connection with Robert Stone's work and nature in an early episode, Miracle Metaphysics Power, where he communicates with the ants that have overtaken his kitchen, and they start to leave him alone. Well, I started doing that, and the ants have left. Sometimes you have to continually remind them, but it became a focal point wherein I understood my association with the nature around me. Have you ever relaxed from stress by walking in the park? Stone would ask. Have you ever been invigorated by a swim in the lake or the ocean? Have you ever been inspired by mountain vistas? then you know some of the powers that nature has to contribute to your well-being. What most people don't know is that they can derive these benefits from nature without budging from the concrete city. These benefits can be not only stress relief, vigor, and inspiration, which are aids respectively to mind, body, and spirit, but they can run the gamut of holistic therapies. Medicinal therapies for what ails the mind, body, and spirit can be a chemical shock and can have unwanted after effects called counterindications. Nature's therapies obtained directly can have counterindications too. You can fall off of a cliff, you can twist your ankle hiking, you can drown in the sea, you can encounter a lightning storm, you can acquire a poison rash, you can be hit by a landslide, you can be bitten by insects or wild animals. But nature's therapies can be obtained indirectly too, and therefore not only free of risk, but free of the expenditures of travel costs, time, and some of the discomforts associated with leaving your residence. Plus, there are no unwanted after effects. How to bring the benefits of nature right to where you are sitting. Bringing nature into your living room does not mean planting herbs in a window box, placing planters decoratively around the room, or arranging bought flowers in a vase. If you put this book down now, close your eyes, took a deep breath, and visualize the last beautiful vase of flowers you could remember, you'd be getting the full benefit of those flowers, perhaps even smell the aroma. How is this possible? For this question to be answered, you need to understand some of the new paradigms that have arrived on the scientific scene. It would not be effective to close your eyes and visualize a beautiful vase, expecting to obtain some particular advantage if you had no idea of what you were really doing. So we will point to the meaning of nature that goes beyond the leaf, flower, or tree, so far beyond indeed that it is seldom noticed by the horticulturist, seldom recognized by the landscape gardener, and never captured by a camera. The material world in which you live is a busy one. To survive, you must work, eat, drink, play, love, sleep. To do nothing is next to unthinkable. Relaxing is doing nothing. It is not going to a ball game. That's exciting. It's not watching television. That's emotionally moving. It's not just sitting in a rocking chair. That's replaying all the above. Scientifically defined, relaxing means quieting the thoughts and senses, removing stress from the body's bones and muscles, and lowering the frequency of your brainwaves. David G. attended the author's full-day seminar on stress management at a large hotel surrounded by gardens. In the midst of a discussion on how to relax, he raised his hand. "I have never relaxed," he said. "I don't know what it feels like to be relaxed. I'm an insurance salesman and a real estate agent. I'm busy with my clients day and night." I remembered the hotel's natural setting. "David, go out of the building and turn right. You'll come to a small stream with a carp swimming in it. Sit down and watch the carp. Keep your mind on the carp." He left. The class continued. In a few minutes, he returned, a big smile on his face. "I now know what it feels like to be relaxed," he announced. The class applauded. You can recall the feeling of relaxation right now. If you like, just clench your fist tighter and tighter. Now let go. The instant of letting go is the feeling of relaxation. Try it again. Now tense up your foot. Tenser. Now let go. Relaxation feels good. It is like hitting your head against the wall and stopping. It feels so good. Don't try that. We will have a practice session in a moment, but why waste it? Let's talk first about visualizations so we can use visualizations to help us while relaxed. Making use of the mind's eye. "Dr. Stone, I can't visualize," said a university freshman at a recent course I gave. It was an old story which I had heard many times. "Don't visualize what I am about to describe," I told the young lady. She agreed. "Don't visualize a white polar bear wearing a pink bikini." She laughed. "You cheated," I humorously scolded. She admitted that the crazy picture that just popped into her mind. Everybody visualizes. Usually these mental images are fed to us by what we read or hear, but we can also feed ourselves. I'm now going to have you feed yourself some images. These are all scenes that you might see walking along a beach. I will read these first. Close your eyes and picture what the words describe. I stroll along the water's edge, my feet making tracks in the soft sand. I look back. Before me stretches a crescent of beach. On one side, the pounding sea. On the other, wind-shaped trees. Just ahead, a sandpiper scurries in and out, following the ebb and flow of wavelets, feeding on the foamy edges. I gaze at the wide waves rumbling towards the shore, tumbling over each other before dissolving with a shh sound into bubbles at my feet. I reverse my steps, and now there's a sea change to tones of green and amethyst. You don't need any practice visualizing, as you are doing it a great deal of the time, but controlled visualizing is slightly novel, and a little practice will make you more comfortable and less self-conscious doing it when relaxed. Using the mind's eye when relaxed. There are many procedures for relaxing in a controlled way. Deep breath, counting down, visualizing passive scenes are amongst the most steps used in popular training sessions. Also used are feelings of heaviness, sinking deeper into a coal mine, and mental affirmations of sleepiness. We are going to stick to a method proven successful in scores of seminars conducted by the author. Occasionally, when a deeper state of relaxation is required for a certain benefit, an additional step or two to deepen your relaxation may be recommended. But meanwhile, here is what you will be asked to do at the start of each nature tapping session. Sit in a comfortable position. Take a deep breath, and as you exhale, be aware of how good it is to relax. Take another deep breath. As you exhale, feel heavier in your chair as you give up the effort against gravity. Take a third deep breath. As you exhale, feel a wave of relaxation go from your head to your toes. Count backwards from 5 to 1. Picture a rose garden. Look closely at a red rose, then an orange rose, yellow rose, a green rose, a blue rose. At this point, you'll be given mental pictures involving nature to provide you with a particular benefit, such as energy, wisdom, prosperity, strength, etc. You will then end your session. Count from 1 to 5 and open your eyes. Either mentally or aloud say, "Universal life energy surges through me as I go forth." That is all there is to it. About 2 minutes, less time than it takes to get out of the door if you're headed for the park. Relaxed imagery programs your mind like a computer. Using imaginary pictures of nature in the purposeful ways to be given to you in the chapters provides you with the energy, balance, and strength inherent in nature, especially if you are in a satisfactory state of relaxation. Using an instrument that measures brainwave frequency, the brain encephalograph, your brainwaves would be found right now to be beating at about 14 to 21 times a second. However, after visualizing the roses of different colors, the brain pulse rate would slow to nearly half that rate, close to 10 pulsations per second. Something else happens of great importance to you. Your relaxed imagery activates the right hemisphere of the brain. What's so great about that? While your left hemisphere connects you with the material world, the world to which your 5 senses respond, the right hemisphere connects you to the world beyond the material world, the creative realm. By relaxing and imaging, you are in touch with the very power that has created both you and nature. By relaxing and imaging, you are astride in the connections between your mind and your body, enabling you to apply self-regulation. Self-regulation is a person's awareness of his or her own health. It enables them to respond well to what otherwise might be debilitating stress and to enjoy an increased level of emotional independence. So with both sides of your brain turned on, your brain works like a computer. Not just any computer, but a computer with 30 billion components. Learning with the left brain, which is what education is all about, requires rote and repetition. Learning with the right brain happens instantly. Repetition is not necessary. It can reinforce, but remember, it is enough to program a computer just once. What science is beginning to learn about nature. When you are surrounded by nature, you do indeed get recharged. Now it is possible to use relaxed imagery of nature and get equally recharged. Both nature and the nature of a person's mind are involved, and science is taking great strides in discovering just how and why. These advances are so immense that it is distancing today's science from yesterday's science. In fact, today's science is being called the new science. The new science is considering such far-out topics as free energy, cosmic consciousness, spirituality, morphogenetic fields, auras, channeling, and clairvoyance. As knowledge about the macrocosmic universe grows, knowledge about the microcosmic world of the human being is also unfolding. The new science is interested in such unorthodox subjects as life energy manipulation through acupuncture, electromagnetic healing using human auras for diagnosing dream interpretation and altered states of consciousness. Much of the leadership of the new science originated with the Institute of Noetic Sciences, started by Dr. Edgar Mitchell on his return from the moon. In the past 20 years, besides conducting research in human consciousness, IONS has funded and supported numerous research projects in prestigious universities and institutions. Another leader, albeit come lately, is the International Association for New Science. It was founded jointly by 3 scientists: Maury Algertson, PhD, co-founder of the Peace Corps and former director of research at Colorado State University; Brian O'Leary, PhD, former Apollo astronaut and college professor; and Robert L. Siblerud, ODMS, researcher in environmental physiology. A number of commercial organizations are also in leadership capacity. The Silva Method, headquartered in Laredo, Texas, and founded by Jose Silva, has hundreds of trainers all over the world. Millions, including your author, are trained to relax, image in controlled ways, and demonstrate powers of the mind that the conventional scientists, still stuck in old paradigms, are loath to talk about, much less accept, but which have been one of the leading inspirations to practitioners of the new science. Isaac Newton, centuries ago, was the architect of the concept of the universe that remains standard to this day. Albert Einstein, a relative newcomer, has spawned a new concept of the universe from which has arisen new paradigms, destined to eventually supplant the old. Some examples are: old, the material world is made up of particles of matter separated in space and time. The new, the world is made up of energy fields that are interconnected and which include space and time. The old, the mind originates in the brain with intelligence in the nervous system and other parts of the body. The new, the mind fills the cosmos and beyond. It is part of nature and of a universal intelligence. The old, our bodies are separate, and so our individual needs are separate. The new, our body is part of a universal body changing and pulsating with the universal process, including nature. The old, we are our bodies, and so we are the victims of suffering, aging, sickness, and death. The new, we are not our bodies. They are the scenery. We are the co-creators in charge of the scenery. The old is we are born, grow, learn, and mature. We are human beings trying to become spiritual. The new belief is we have always existed. We are spiritual beings trying to become human. This final new paradigm puts you and me in a totally new role. It is partly based on the old fact that energy cannot be created or destroyed, but only changed from one form to another, long known as the law of conservation of energy. Then it is extrapolated by the new understanding of consciousness and the cosmos making one fill the other. If I'm going too fast, let this all sit for the present. There is just one idea that needs to be emphasized: nature as the creation of the Creator. Why is turning our mind to nature a benefit to us in so many ways? The answer is it is an expression of life as such. Nature is a symbol of the Creator. This last sentence would make a classical scientist slam this book shut. Even a news science protagonist would begin to squirm. He too is dependent on monetary grants from conservative institutions for his ongoing research. I trust it does not turn you off. Nature is a symbol of the Creator. For this reason, we will change nature to nature with a capital N from this page on. Cosmic consciousness fills all space. Space between and in galaxies, space between and in solar systems, space between and in people. Space between and in birds, trees, leaves, and rocks. The Creator is in the space occupied by a tulip. So the tulip really is a tulip. The Creator is inside the space occupied by a butterfly. So the butterfly is really a butterfly. The Creator is in the space occupied by you. So you are really you. These are examples of living creatures. The Creator is also inside non-living creatures. The Creator is within a grain of sand, a piece of silver, and a drop of rain. To upgrade your perception of the natural scenes that you will be relaxing and mentally picturing on the pages ahead, here's a passage to read similar to what is coming, in which the elements of nature have been capitalized. When you read the following paragraphs, stop at each capitalized element of nature, close your eyes and picture it as the Creator's doing, with the Creator permeating it. Then open your eyes and do the same. The wind whistles. It blows the leaves and clears a path. I bend my head into its coming gusts and duck behind trees that line a walkway. Here, somewhat sheltered, I find enjoyment in the way it gently lifts my hair and sights in the new, leafed branches above. See yellow buds on forsythia bushes. I glimpse purple and gold crocuses peeking through last year's rotting leaves. I threw a curve at you in this exercise, asking you to visualize something unseeable, namely the wind. What you did was probably imagine the effect of the wind, like its blowing of the grass, bushes, or branches. This is appropriate. It is also appropriate to picture something you've never seen in any way that appears to you. Perhaps you have never seen a crocus. You're seeing it as a flower that in reality is nothing like a crocus, will still bring you the strength or other benefits. After all, the Creator never saw a crocus in material form either. Relax and mentally picture. Do so with desire, expectation, and belief, and nature is yours. The power of relaxed mental pictures of nature. In the July 19th, 1996 issue of USA Weekend, timed with the start of the Centennial Olympics in Atlanta, Georgia, 14-year-old swimmer Amanda Beard was quoted as explaining her success this way: "I try to picture the whole race before it happens. Then I visualize myself winning." The sports world is adopting relaxed visualization faster than the world of educators, even faster than the world of religionists. This latter fact is unthinkable. Sermons of ministers in many sects and religions still refer to God as up there, or out there somewhere. Prayers and supplications are made in the hopes that they reach Him, when actually He knows your prayers as you decide to pray. Your relaxed conceptualizing of God activates the right hemisphere of your brain, which is connected to the creative realm. When your right hemisphere pictures nature, this connection to nature is a connection to the Creator of nature. So getting strength from nature is, putting it mildly, you get unbelievable inspiration, wisdom, and power. Unbelievable, yes, so don't tell anybody. They'll walk away. Perhaps it would be best to go only as far as Ralph Waldo Emerson did when he wrote an essay entitled Nature. The tempered light of the woods is like a perpetual morning, and is stimulating and heroic. These enchantments are medicinal. They sober and heal us. Fanning the powerful flames of visualization. Because you will be gaining special benefits from these meditations, you'll be enjoying them with your eyes closed. Therefore, you will need to have them read to you, or you can make a tape and listen to your own voice reading them. But meanwhile, you do well to practice relaxing. Do so at least once a day. Best time is after arising in the morning. Make it a habit to do so when your feet first touch the floor. See yourself successful in whatever faces you to accomplish that day. You do well to practice visualizing also. To help you with this, here's another exercise that you can do on your own. This one is different than the previous one, where you stopped at the capitalized word. Hi, this one you stopped at the underlined phrases. The theme is an ocean swim. Even inveterate ocean swimmers will not be familiar with many of the happenings described, so don't feel intimidated. Relax as you read and stop at the underlined part. Close your eyes and imagine. If you have a fear of water, skip this exercise and go on to the next. If you've been swimming in the ocean, wade mentally now and live in it mentally. I make headway against the oncoming waves. Then plunge through one and swim out to where it's calmer. Here I swim a while, gazing down to the clear waters, observing the shifting sands, an occasional outcropping of seaweed, and now and then a flash of silver as a fish goes by. Then turning on my back, I rest with the billows for a pillow, and am rocked in rhythm with the heaving waters. Above in the azure sky, a fluff of clouds are driven by the wind. A gull catches a downdraft, searching for prey a little ways off. A tern plummets into the ocean. I watch it take off with a fish in its beak, pursued by the gull. Now I catch a wave and riding back through the surf to where it ends in a lacy edge of foam in the sandy beach. As you open your eyes, following these aquatic mental pictures, you may not feel any differently. The purpose here was to make you feel more comfortable visualizing natural scenes, scenes you have witnessed before or scenes from which you have no previous experience. The purpose of guided imagery after you have completed these is to give you specific benefits that make you feel advantaged starting immediately. Why nature is as good a source of strength as God. To scientists, God is a dirty word. By definition, God is as unprofessional a concept as a scientific mind can hold. The same is usually true for publishers. One of my books that was later translated into other languages included in its original title the words, "Help from the Other Side." However, this was too risky for the publisher. They changed the title's words to "Help from Your Other Side." The change did not change the meaning. Your other side is your brain's right hemisphere, and it is your connection to the other side, meaning the creative realm. The realm is most commonly considered as God, but could also include fairies, angels, ascended masters, Jesus, Buddha, Brahma, Krishna, and other Hindu gods. The creative realm also includes the spiritual entities worshipped by primitive peoples that usually were symbolized by mountains, clouds, trees, crops, and rain. Until we as individuals grow in consciousness to the point where we can intuitively or psychically perceive the other side, we can only postulate that the highest spiritual powers are there. Since we cannot see them, we cannot visualize them. But we can see nature, and since the elements of nature are direct products of the other side, the creative realm, and the creator, visualizing nature is a sure way of contacting God. Now, for a disclaimer, nothing in this book shall be construed as meaning that imaging nature is better than actually being in nature. Being in the midst of nature is the ultimate tapping of its power. The more you are aware of this power and nature's proximity to the creator, the more susceptible you are to receiving this power. The person who is taking a shortcut through the woods to get from one prospective customer to another prospective customer will get little, if any, benefit compared to the person who goes there for solace or comfort or beauty or meditation or love. Love nature and it loves you back. Duke University Medical Center recently published a study indicating that mental stress tests are more accurate at predicting fixture heart problems than physical testing alone by 2 or 3-fold. Stress is a killer. If it does not cause a heart problem, it can cause a disease-resistant problem or another organ problem. Being in nature or imaging nature while relaxed are important ways to manage stress. so the pages ahead could improve your health and extend your life. That is the umbrella benefit for all who participate. The spokes to the umbrella might be even more important to some, like staying focused and improving your work performance, help you to lose weight, improve your approach to the opposite sex, remove mental barriers interfering with your prosperity, induce mental abilities such as better problem solving, intuition, inspiration, and creativity. Enough talk, let's have some more action. We will explain how distance has no dampening effect on these benefits. You can be out in the middle of the Sahara Desert or the center of Times Square, and nature's powers can be yours. How to tap nature's hidden powers even miles away. You're sitting in your living room, looking toward your window. You can see a bit of the outside. It could be your next door neighbor's house or a concrete high-rise, sometimes a structure for special use. If you can see a tree or a bush or grass, lucky you. It is a piece of nature at your fingertips. But a piece of nature in view is not much better than a crumb of bread is as a meal. There it is, the branch, the bush, or the grass, but it still can be an important triggering device. It can trigger you to close your eyes, take 3 deep breaths, picture the roses, red, orange, yellow, green, and blue, and then use the mental imagery associated with fuller scenes of nature to jumpstart you toward a goal, dissolve an obstacle in your love life, or attain peace of mind in a critical moment. You are tapping nature's power even if nature, in the form of growing green, is miles away. This is possible because nature is creation. You are creation, and the Creator is in both places at the same time. We are the legatees of many old habits of thinking that the new science is proving of no value. One of these is the idea of separation. Space is now viewed as full rather than empty. It is full of fields of radiation, fields of consciousness, fields of gravity, fields of intelligence, fields of energy. These fields fill the space between the molecules of your liver, even the space between the nucleus of heart atom and the electrons rotating around it. Have you ever thought of a friend or relative and curiously within moments they phoned you? Have you ever had letters curiously crossed in the mail? Have you ever noticed curious synchronicities? No curiousness about it, just togetherness. Creation is a manifestation of matter. It is also a manifestation of time and space. But in the creative realm from which creation emanates, matter does not exist, neither does time and space. When you relax and image, your right brain hemisphere is activated. This part of your brain puts you in touch with the creative realm. The tree you visualize is not real. If it is a tree 1,000 miles away, neither is the 1,000 miles real. You are together with the tree. You may have seen this tree on a trip to a forest 3 years ago. Since then, the tree may have been chopped down to make the paper these words are written on. But it does not matter that time has intervened between you and the tree when you are viewing it in the creative realm. Everything there is timeless. If you have difficulty in conceiving that nature is everywhere, if you see nature as only being out there, take a look at yourself. You eat nature in the form of plants and animals, and by so doing, you transform them into you. The unity between you and nature goes much further than body. It envelopes your intelligence, your consciousness, and your life energy. The director of research at the Institute of Noetic Sciences, Marilyn Schlitz, states, at IONS, we're giving special emphasis in research to the issue of intentionality, the basic concept of mind reaching out and interacting with matter. To me, the idea that consciousness may be causal has extraordinarily important consequences, not only for the way we conduct science, but for our fundamental view of ourselves, our place in the world, and our interactions with other people and the environment. To which this author says, Amen. The methods that you'll be using to gain advantages, for example, strength from nature, does not require you having been in a forest, but there is a singular advantage. When you visualize a scene which you have already experienced, your body, taking your mental picture as reality, performs as it did then. If you were chased by a bear, your heart will race as it did then. On the other hand, if you felt the forest peaceful quiet, you will again feel relaxed as if you were there once more. This is called the relaxation response. It is used quite commonly in stress management. It requires that you have experienced the peaceful place about which you daydream in order to evoke the same relaxed feeling that you enjoyed in person. Of course, there is also the chased by a bear response, or the filled with awe response, or the strength response. But if you visualize a forest of stately trees and have never experienced such a forest, what sort of response will you get? The answer is the same as if you had been there. This is hard to believe unless you are able to understand a concept of consciousness first noted by Carl Jung, one of the founders of psychology, and further developed and proven by Dr. Rupert Sheldrake, British botanist. Jung found that dream symbology was the same for most people, whether they lived in the United States or a European country. A large body of water, for instance, seen in a dream meant the deep unconscious. An entire dream language was shared by almost everybody. Jung theorized that individual minds were not as separated as they appeared to be, that they shared a common place, wherever that may be, which he termed the collective unconscious. A bunch of monkeys off the coast of Japan took this concept a step further. These monkeys lived on islands uninhabitable by humans and proved to be a valuable source of their behavior to interested psychologists. One year there was a severe drought. The monkeys were faced with a flood shortage. To solve their dilemma, an oversupply of sweet potatoes was used. A large pile of them dropped on each of the islands. To the dismay of the observers, the monkeys would not touch the sweet potatoes. What to do? But after a while, they watched a young female monkey took a sweet potato to the sea, washed it, broke it open, tasted it, and began to jump up and down with excitement. She pulled her mother over and had her do the same. Other monkeys took up the experiment. When about 100 monkeys had tried eating the sweet potatoes and made the decision that sweet potatoes were monkey food, instead the monkeys on the other side of that island and on the other islands began eating sweet potatoes. Did the monkeys have some way of communicating? The observers could see no positive way to that, but the event did fit in with one scientific research. Dr. Rupert Sheldrake did not take to Jung's term collective unconscious, but he did believe that a unifying field of intelligence did exist among the monkeys, among humans, and among other different life forms. He called this a morphogenetic field and proceeded to do experiments based on its validity to see if this field would continue to reflect its existence. These experiments ranged from using mice to using humans. An experiment with mice involved an intricate maze with dead-end passages and so many alternate routes that led nowhere that it took the mice scores of tries before they found the food directly. Then, thousands of miles away, the same breed of mice was introduced to the very same maze. They went to the food in only several tries. Apparently, they shared a common intelligence, a morphogenetic field, with the same breed of mice miles away. The typical human test involved taking volunteers and dividing them into two groups. Nobody in either of these groups spoke Hungarian. One group was given an old Hungarian rhyme to memorize, the other a new Hungarian rhyme of the same length to memorize. The group with the old rhyme did it much faster, a predictable result assuming that a morphogenetic field had been programmed by people having memorized the old rhyme over the years. Just as an old Hungarian nursery rhyme has, through memorization by many humans, been programmed into the human morphogenetic field, so has looking at a forest of stately trees. If you have never seen one, the forest you create in your imagination has been provided to you by millions of humans who have seen this one, via the human morphogenetic field. Isn't that interesting and useful? Your mental image always does the job. Chances are you've never been aboard a vintage schooner, dating say a half century ago with a bowsprit. You're going to take such a trip now in your imagination. Despite the fact that it is all new to you, the trip aboard the schooner will be invigorating to you. Yes, you will be drawing from your memory of pictures, seen, programs seen, books read, and so forth. But the invigoration as the specific benefit from this trip will come from all those hundreds, maybe thousands of people who sailed aboard such a vessel. It will come via the morphogenetic field. Read the following description, one sentence at a time. After each sentence, close your eyes and picture. I stretched out on the bowsprit of a vintage schooner as it sails into the bay. Beneath me, gentle swells rise and fall. I breathe in the sweet ozone and feel the spindrift's gentle sting. I watch the waters divide into spray and splash on the hole behind me as we are driven before the wind. The early morning sun warms my body. As we head out into the open sea, the wind picks up and we plunge through oncoming breakers. Above, seabirds swoop. Like one of them, our ship, sails aflutter, skims the deep blue sea. The moment you finish, be aware of how you feel. Is it at least a shade of invigoration? It is likely a good feeling, subtly positive. By the time you start the more formal relaxed imagery sessions, you will have become more prepared mentally, and the ideas that you hold while relaxed will manifest more dramatically as physical, emotional, and spiritual benefits. Thoughts are the shadows of things manifesting. A 7-year-old girl who could fly a plane was trying for a record flight. She was interviewed by a reporter who asked, "What do you think about up there while you're piloting?" The girl replied, "I think about crashing." A few hours later, she crashed. Thoughts are consciousness in the act of creating. A few years ago, a plane approaching Honolulu Airport developed landing gear trouble. Emergency vehicles stood by, foam was spread, and the plane landed on its belly. The passengers exited on emergency slides with no injuries. One was aware enough to share with a reporter that a movie was shown on the trip in which the plane suffered the same problem. How could over 200 people watching this film and holding a crippled landing gear in their mind at the same time not create it? Be careful of what you decide to imagine, as imagination is thought, and a thought is the shadow of a thing to come. Our speech is full of expressions that create what they literally say. He gives me a pain in the neck. You may awake with a stiff neck in the morning. She makes me sick. Repeat that thought a few times and she will. "Oh, my aching back" was an expression originated by GIs in World War II. According to the medical profession, lower back complaints increased 40% at that time. The good news is that positive thoughts are also creative. The Power of Positive Thinking by Dr. Norman Vincent Peale brought that home to millions of people in the past few decades. We are not that understanding of the physical nature of thought and to be able to trace its ability to become manifest. We know there are electrical discharges across the synapses of our brain. But then again, we do not really know what electricity is. Actually, there is nothing dead in the universe. Inanimate matter is energy in constant motion. Thoughts are alive too. In fact, their life is not inhibited by dense matter, so they can express more fully and with greater energy. When you relax and mentally see yourself getting strength from nature, that thought becomes a stronger you. When you relax and mentally see yourself enjoying the wealth that nature represents, that thought manifests as a wealthier you. When you relax and mentally see yourself in harmony with your neighbors, family, or fellow workers, as nature is in harmony with all living things, that thought created personal harmony in your life. Strength is not always the answer to a person's problems. Money and other forms of wealth likewise may not be the solution for you, and you may have fulfilling interpersonal relationships. Therefore, the author has not made the pursuing of advantages in this book a sequential procedure, each depending on the ones before. Once you've completed these chapters, you can pick and choose the advantages you would like to achieve now. Perhaps those you decided to skip as largely unimportant today may become more pertinent at a later date. Summarizing what is happening when you relax and hold a special image of nature to accomplish special things for you. Your relaxation and visualization activates the right hemisphere of your brain. Your pictures of nature, reinforced by your previous experience or that of others via the morphogenetic field, are taken as real by your body and mind, and the particular asset of nature being sought becomes manifest in you, making a thought become a thing. The author was giving an all-day seminar in a large city in the Mideast. The seminar was concerning the powers of the mind, some of it covering the same principles being presented to you now. At the first coffee break, my hosts came over to the podium smiling, but their words were not smiling. Dr. Stone, please, less theory and more demonstrations. I nodded and replied, I'll be doing demonstrations. There was something more urgent on my mind at that moment as I headed for the men's room. They followed me. Dr. Stone, we will begin to lose people if you give theory instead of practice. As I entered the men's room, I continued to promise them there would be plenty of practice. Would you believe the host couple followed me into the men's room, exhorting me to alter my seminar? All I could say was, pardon my back. I did accelerate the examples and demonstrations. We lost no attendees. It was a good lesson, one that applies now. Theoretical explanations halt for the moment as we do a demonstration. This exercise is in 2 parts. Do part 1 before doing part 2. Part 1, close your eyes. Imagine you are cutting a lemon and squeezing lemon juice into your mouth. Then open your eyes. Once your eyes are open, notice the feeling in your mouth. Is your mouth watering? Part 2. Read the following passage. Close your eyes after each sentence and picture it. I go outside. My palms turned up to feel the rain. Gentle silvery droplets veil the view. Now a heavy rain falls. Blossoms in the garden seem to reach up to drink the moisture. I turn my face upward, mouth agape, to catch the drops. As suddenly as it began, it ceases. Birds sweep down to bathe in the puddles it has left. A gentle breeze shakes out the watery drops from the leaves of trees. Everything glows and shimmers as the sky brightens and the sun appears once more. Now, with your eyes open, do you feel thirsty? The answer should be no. Your body believes your mental images. It gets better and better. Improving your familiarity with nature. City folks who seldom have a chance to be in touch with nature other than a walk in the park will miss nothing in this book. It will all be usable, meaningful, and beneficial. The result of your sharing other people's experiences through Jung's collective unconscious and Sheldrake's morphogenetic field. Still, a few minutes of at least reading about nature can warm you up a bit to what's ahead. Take, for instance, this passage. Curl up and read it. There is nothing to do in the way of a mental exercise, but do visualize the descriptions and actions as they occur. The narrow dirt path leads downward towards the glen below. On either side, oak, maple, and dogwood trees stretch their myriad branches to the cloudless October sky. Silently, leaves drift down. A squirrel scurries by, searching for a hiding place for his winter hoard of acorns. Blue jays squawk. Red-headed woodpeckers, hammer cardinals flutter by, accompanied by a background twittering of sparrows. As the ground levels, I shuffle through a wind-piled heap of withered leaves. I spy a chipmunk who freezes at the sound, then races off. I gape at the autumnal panorama surrounding me. China red maples, golden oaks, leaves of bronze and copper, scarlet and saffron bursting in a riot of colors. I bend and scoop up a handful of decayed vegetation, breathing in its earthy fragrance. In the distance, I sniff the aroma of burning leaves and watch its smoke ascend into the blueness on high. I step into an open space to enjoy the warmth of the noonday sun. You are probably more accustomed to reading descriptions that are more related to a novel's plot or nonfiction travels, but you are preparing yourself to benefit decisively on the pages ahead. Even books that are centered on nature usually have an auxiliary theme. Walden or Life in the Woods by Henry David Thoreau was a purposeful essay berating civilization's effect on people. He admits to this in his final declaration. I do not propose to write an ode to dejection, but to brag as hustily as Chanticleer in the morning, standing on his roofs, if only to wake my neighbors up. The split infinitive is his, not mine. Silent Spring by Rachel Carson was another outstanding nature book about a century later. She too had more in mind than just a nature book. She was waking up her neighbors to the destruction of nature and its drastic effects. If this book in your hands is a nature book, It too is a wake-up book. It shouts the wonders of nature within you. Hardly a poet or author writes about nature without becoming eloquent over its powers to enhance one's existence. A few quotes. Nature is the vicar of the Almighty Lord, Chaucer. Nature is the chart of God, mapping out all his attributes, Tupper. Nature is mighty, for nature is the work of a mightier power than man, Anonymous. Nature is the art of God, Brown. Listening to these writers expound their concepts of nature, one is led to believe that attunement to nature is tantamount to attunement to God. It is. A changing view of the universe by researchers in the new science. How vast is the cosmos? How old are the stars? Who or what triggered the Big Bang? Astrophysicists are busy trying to glean answers to such questions as these by utilizing new and powerful telescopes to see into the past, but philosophical scientists are instead looking in the opposite direction inward. By relaxing and meditating about these perennial unanswerable questions, ideas come. Ideas such as the universe has been in the process of creating itself as nature creates itself, or such as galactic centers are the source of new matter and energy in the universe, or such as consciousness fills all space. And just as the consciousness of humanity is creative, space consciousness is also creative. It all points to there being more to life than meets the eye. It says that using your consciousness is what creates your circumstances. In other words, we are not the creatures of circumstance, we are the creators of circumstance. You are a practitioner of the new science. This evidenced by your motivation to pursue the skills provided in this book. You assume that you can use your consciousness in ways that add zest, interest, joy, and perhaps years to your life. Welcome to the club. Its membership is worldwide. There is an organization in Hungary called the Club of Budapest. It is not a golf club, bridge club, or bowling club. Its members are unified by a common interest, promoting peace through planetary consciousness. They believe that if peace is to prevail, the consciousness of world peoples must be advanced through the power of spirit and creativity. Here are the major objectives of one of the recent programs conducted in association with the International Peace University of Berlin and with UNESCO. Comprehensive review of the intuition, psychology phenomena, and physics of presumed inter- and transpersonal consciousness fields. Measurement and systematic experimental investigation of nature and occurrence of non-conventional interpersonal communication fields. Measurement and systematic experimental investigation of the nature and existence of transpersonal consciousness fields. Effective educational and informational activities for facilitating the interaction of individuals with inter- and transpersonal consciousness fields. Reflecting the wide geographic scope of the club, its board of advisors includes Stanley Krippner of San Francisco, Karl Pribram of Stanford, Ilya Prigogine of Brussels, and Karen Singh of New Delhi. We are not asking that you be knowledgeable about transpersonal, interpersonal, and collective unconsciousness fields. We are on a much simpler trip than that. Suffice it to say that you and I are in tune with each other's consciousness, putting us in the same field of consciousness. Together, we are conscious of nature as a reflection of the Creator. The Creator is reflected in nature. Reading the following passage, sense the Creator in every possible aspect of nature. When you finish, go back and count how many times you have sensed the Creator. I race down the hill to greet spring. The Japanese cherry tree is in bloom. It's humming with bees plundering its nectar. A scattering of pink petals flutter down to earth. The very ground is smiling with buttercups, lilies of the valley, and violets. As I step along, I gaze up at dogwood trees, flowering pink and white against the azure sky. Even an ancient oak is coming alive with newly budding leaves. All about, trees of every species are greening. Birds catch the excitement and flit from branch to branch, chirping as they nest, build, wood notes echoing from tree to tree as they court their mates. On City Street, most pedestrians have shed their coats and some their reserves. Faces relax, and on some smiles appear. Standing on a corner, waiting for the light to change, some even strike up conversations with strangers. Traffic dividers are filled with blooming daffodils in a nearby park. More clothes are shed as sun-starved devotees greet the sun's warming rays. The festival of spring has begun. When you have finished reading the above, go back and go over it and count the times you could conceive the Creator. The goal of this book has been to deepen your experiences with the Creator, to bring you closer to your source. You are not required to go through some soul-testing initiation. You did not have to fast for days or meditate for hours. You did not have to expose yourself to heel or cold or beds of nails or deprivation. All you had to do was occasionally enjoy a few minutes of relaxation and review in your favorite living room chair. As a result, you become less likely to suffer fear, more likely to enjoy abundance, better able to overcome complexity and perplexity in favor of order and harmony, of a higher consciousness because of a closer relationship to the Creator with nature. If you compress the history of planet Earth into 1 year, life did not appear until May or June. Homo sapiens did not appear until about 11 p.m. on December 31st. We did not begin to fly until minutes ago. Progress is moving faster and faster. We are now able to physically control evolution, so instead of changes taking centuries, they can happen with gene manipulation overnight. He wrote this before CRISPR. I was practically alone in my thinking 50 years ago. Today, hundreds of lecturers and writers are blanketing the planet with the messages you have, in different words and in different approaches, but with the same goal in mind. We must become more godlike. Beyond that, we can begin to discipline our minds and spiritual intentions. Think of these as muscles. We need to exercise them and build up their strength and tone. Awareness that this can be done is the first necessary step. Some beginning techniques include setting time aside upon rising at noon, before dinner, and before falling asleep. 5 to 10 minutes is enough at the start. Increase the duration by a minute or two each time as it suits you. Count backwards from 10, relaxing each step of the way. Then use prayer, meditation, affirmations, or visualization. See yourself healthy and taking control of your mind, your will, and your life. Send loving and healing energy to your family, friends, and co-workers. See yourself becoming the boss of your mind in new ways. Take a minute or more to work on a short-term goal. Nothing big to start. Think of simple ways to enjoy your life more or to have more energy. He writes about so much more in this book, and I would love to read more, but I recommend that you get the book, How to Gain Strength from Nature, sitting in your living room, tapping natural sources of energy wherever you are. And it just speaks to something that I know fundamentally, intuitively, but it's wonderful to actually talk about in this podcast, that there is a connection to nature, that our power comes from nature, that we can become more godlike by analyzing and becoming one with nature, by thinking about nature, by picturing nature. Nature has a solution for everything that you can think of. It naturally solves all problems. By simply looking at a simple flower, you can see the solution to whatever your problem is. There's always a solution. So the next time that you're close to a tree, imagine that tree is God. All the trees are God. All of them are you, and you are God. And using this particular technique is powerful. It's just an important subject. As we align with the New Earth energy, we align with the energies of nature. I have so many friends that just gave up their jobs when COVID sort of started, and I see them driving all over the country. They love to go to hikes all over the country, and that's what they primarily are doing. They're just driving around, going on hikes, connecting to nature everywhere they go. I see it so often, and their lives are happy, and yours can be too. Ask your question of nature. Pray to nature. Pray to nature for a little while if you have a hard time praying to God or to yourself. And use nature as your power, and you will find the power there, and you will find the source. So check that book out. I'd love to get your comments and what you think about it. Do you have any experiences with nature you'd like to share? How has nature enhanced your abilities, your experience, and your life? Please put it in the comments. I'd love to know. Put a like on this video. All episodes of The Reality Revolution can be found at therealityrevolution.com, and welcome to The Reality Revolution.